Right now, there's a popular theme that's been going on for more than 10 years, probably more than 20 years, that implies that there is no God. So I want you to imagine trying to work through psychological difficulties without a God or a Holy Ghost or a Christ to turn to. Okay, this is the mindset of people from my profession for the first 50 plus years of the development of psychology. And that's why they teach a principle that contradicts the phrase, do not rely upon the arm of flesh, because they tell you to reach out to other people to get your needs met. The funny, that's not funny is the wrong word for it. The horrifying parallel to that is these are the same people that tell you not to be codependent. In Addiction Recovery, they tell you if you don't call someone for support, you're going to behave against your value system. You're a lost cause. You're going to sin. You're going to drink alcohol. You're going to view pornography. If you don't get another person on the phone, you are a done deal. And then I got people telling me humans are so unreliable, and you're just learning that now. So I want you to think about these phrases, and if you're feeling really gutsy, find the version of these phrases that you hear in your head, because you probably hear a version of one of these. You don't ask them to change, just share your feelings with them until they change. This one I get all the time. I will confront a client saying, are you waiting for your spouse to change to improve your life? No, I just want them to hear my feelings. Well, if they hear your feelings and don't change, is that okay? No, what's the point of sharing my feelings unless they change? So you are sharing your feelings with the intent for them to change. No, check yourself to see if the idea to express yourself to another person has a secret desire for them to be different at the end of the conversation. You are going to have to stay in this emotional goo until someone steps in to pull you out of it. I've actually seen this one, like, you're depressed. So start dialing the phone until you find someone who can get you out of it, because you can't get out of it unless someone else gets you out of it. Ooh, here's a popular one. You're not even worthy of God's help to get you out of this one. What's the point of even calling him since you're such a sinner? I saw you raise your eyebrow at your spouse the other day. You're so condescending and critical. You don't deserve God's help. If so-and-so would just do that one thing, then I would feel better, or I would feel less pain. We get this one a lot in our betrayal trauma work. The wife comes in and says, I have been hurt by my husband. I listen to the story and says, yes, you have. You have been hit by a truck and you are laying in a ditch. And then she says, well, if you can just get him to stop hitting me with the truck, I can be happy. It says, so we're going to lay here until he learns how to drive his truck. Well, isn't that my only option? How about we get out of the ditch and walk to a safe distance? Wait, you can do that? That's an option? If so-and-so hadn't hurt me, then I could be happy and healthy. If this hadn't happened to me, if that hadn't happened to me. Now, can you see how most of the things written here, many of the modern social scientists would say, but that's all correct. You're supposed to be able to discover your needs and explain them to another person until they fulfill your needs. Have you ever been on the receiving side of that? When someone brings their needs to you and implies that their functioning will be compromised until you make the following adjustments? I want to share my grieving with you anytime you're experiencing a legitimate unmet need and you go to your neighbor or loved one and it's not in their wagon either. Please be compassionate with each other, as the mothers and fathers must have been on the Pioneer Trail. Can you imagine how scary that would be to not have enough food to feed your kids? When our brains get hungry and thirsty, they start acting like 3-year-olds. Okay, when we get panicky, we can start acting very young, and we can get tantrumy and we can get agitated. You really got to watch yourself to make sure that you're not dumping your needs on another human who is already depleted themselves. We have some true principles found in the scriptures. I found in 2 Nephi 4, O Lord, I have trusted in thee, and I will trust in thee forever. I will not put my trust in the arm of flesh. This is Nephi after they get to the new land, and he's had plenty of experience with at least not trusting his older brothers. I know that cursed is he that putteth his trust in the arm of flesh. Now, I don't know exactly what the word cursed means in this case, but what I do know as a social psychologist is you might as well tie your hands behind your back and fall towards the ground face first when you trust other people, because the cursed means you're probably going to get hurt worse if you were hoping a human was going to save you. A conference talk. It's easy to get caught in the trap of looking to the arm of flesh for advice on everything from how to raise children to how to find happiness. While some information has merit, as members of the church, we have access to the source of pure truth, even God himself. We would do well to search out answers to our problems and questions by investigating what the Lord has revealed through his prophets. And with the same technology today, we have at our fingertips access to the words of the prophets. So let's look at how Joseph did not rely upon the arm of flesh. If Joseph came into a therapist office at age 20 or 22, we would have expected him to be on the verge of being an alcoholic or to be a substance abuser and have lots of problems because of how he was raised. His older brothers psychologically, emotionally, and physically abused him for years. They sold him off into slavery. He was away from his parents. He had lots of reasons to be a mess because those who were supposed to be there for him were not. My question as I was studying, how did this guy who had every reason to be in therapy and every reason to barely get his head above water, went on to be in a position of substantial leadership, and instead of being triggered or angry with his brothers, he says in Genesis 45 verse 5, "Now therefore be not grieved," he says to his brothers, "nor angry with yourselves that you sold me hither, for God did send me before you to preserve life. Not even your ridiculous approach to life could ruin my position in God's eyes. No matter what happens around me, no matter how abusive people are, that can't stop God from doing his work." Look at who has ruined your life and think about how Joseph of Egypt got through that. He became so anchored in his fulfilling his stewardships. And man, I just really would have liked to have had more information on the mindset of these people. I am confident that this was not an overnight process. I had a mother I worked with this week, and as we were looking at her background, the trauma her mother added by on a regular basis saying, "You're not as good as the other girls are, you're too this, you're too that, you're a pain in the fanny." So the mom gave her layers and layers of psychological abuse. So yes, all these different factors can have an impact on the length of time it takes to overcome it. But the goal is to make sure they know it can be overcome, because sometimes the social scientists say the best we can do for you is to just get you to the point where you're less frequently triggered. And it just makes me sad that that's the best that they can do. At least that's implied. Start by looking at these quotes at the top and find one or two that you find popping into your head on a regular basis. Or even if it's occasionally, it's disruptive. You can feel it knocking your shins out from underneath you. Step 2, remember it didn't come from you. Then write your preferred values-based internal wording response.